Hello and welcome to another edition of the Formula One Fans UK podcast. I'm Reese and I'm joined today to review Alfa Romeo and preview their 2022 season by
Danny,
who has, well, he's drawn the short straw with me here. It's not the greatest team to review, but hopefully we'll have some fun doing it.
we're the smartest team. Let's put this out there. Let's put this out there for the other guys. We're the smartest team. All right, let's put that out there.
We are the smart ones who can grind blood from the stone that is Alfa Romeo's 2021 season.
Oh.
First of all, Happy New Year to you all.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
We know it's our first show of 2022, so belated Happy New Year there. Danny, did you have fun? Did you celebrate? Did you shoot off your AR-15s and storm the Capitol or anything like that? Or did you have a quiet one?
Oh, man, that would have been epic, right? But no, I would have been on like FBI's list. No, I had a very subtle New Year's. Just had my brother over, had a couple drinks, nothing too crazy. I just had a relaxing time at home. I was a responsible American for a New Year. I can be proud of that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I wished you guys Happy New Year's at 7 o'clock my time, which would have been 12 your time. So I was pretty punctual there.
Further stating the point that we are the smartest pair here.
Yeah, I do stuff like that.
Danny understands time difference, and he knows that Europe is not a country.
No matter what they tell you.
No matter what they tell you in geography class. We'll get on to the F1. Kimi Räikkönen, he's of course called it a day. Probably a smart move. It looked like he was not too fussed by anything.
No.
What do you make of his season?
He just dragged that season. It doesn't help that the Alpha car wasn't any good. They really didn't do that many upgrades to it. But he just had a very it was a back of the pack season for him. It's a shame. World champion, the last Ferrari world champion, is just kind of wallowing back there in 16th, 17th place. Did have a couple bright spots, but I'm just glad that we got to see Kimi Räikkönen wrap up his career his way. He's a legend of the sport.
Spectacular brake failure and limping home to the pits, or
yeah, that was kind of lame. But at that point, I felt like he did more fan service. He really had no reason to race in 2021. He could have retired even before Alpha. So, as a fan, I appreciate Kimi and his many highlights that he has and many great moments, funny moments. And he'll be known as a really super talented racer and somebody that provided us great entertainment as well.
Yeah, and on Giovannazi quickly, his season.
The Italian Jesus, as we like to call him. You saw him turn it on at the end of the season. He had several Q3 appearances actually, but it's kind of a little too late at that point. He will be in Formula E next year. All the Giovannazi fans out there, you can still catch him racing single seaters. He will be in Formula E, and for the three of the people that watch him,
is he not also a reserve for Ferrari and Alfa?
Yeah, he still does that. You're right, alongside Mick.
Okay, so before we get fully into Alfa Romeo, we will do the news.
All right.
Because, there's Formula One news again. Aston Martin has announced that Formula One team principal Otmar Szafnauer, did I pronounce that correctly?
Szafnauer, yeah.
Yes, 2 for 2. 2 for 2 in pronunciations.
Romanian American, yeah.
He's left the team anyway. Because I don't feel confident in pronouncing his name correctly twice in a row, I am going to go and proceed by calling him Otto. So, yeah, Otto. Otto has left Aston Martin, heavily linked with, of course, going to Alpine. Do you see it as a good move if he goes there?
Well, that would be a great team to go to. He's familiar with Esteban Ocon, first of all, and Ocon seems to be like their future in a way, kind of. And obviously Alonso's there, but Alpine have better resources than Force India. Now that Aston Martin's there, the resources have changed, but it'll be a great fit, I feel like. It'll be a really, really good fit. But to be honest, I want to add this about Safnauer. I feel like this past year, him and Stroll, I think there was like a 1 year test run, see if they can work out together. And I think Omar probably did the best thing of leaving that team. I don't think it would ever work out. Force India, as we have known from 2009 till 17, 16, they were a team that used very little. They had limited resources, limited parts. Their drivers weren't the top flight drivers, but they always overachieved. And he was a good part of that. Be able to get as much resource able to do more with the resources that they have. And I don't think him and Stroll would have worked out in the long run. And I think it's a smart move for him to leave. And we'll see how well he does.
Yeah. The other Formula One news is film industry insiders have tipped Apple to have won the race to produce an upcoming Formula One themed movie starring Brad Pitt. Not a clue what it's going to be about. Just know Brad Pitt's in it. I don't know if it's going to be based on anything that's happened, if it's going to be completely fictional.
Yeah.
All I would say is if you want to get a feel for having someone play Michael Massey in it, who is so unliked unanimously, you can only really cast Amber Heard in that role.
Oh man, the first female race director and just gets booed out.
Well, she'd be perfect for Michael Massey because she's a word that's very strong and would result in me using a swear jar, so I won't say it.
Mm-hmm. I can't. But what do you think? Do you think something good can come out of that?
Well, I mean, it can't be as over-dramatized as Drive to Survive, so it should be interesting. I mean, I think Jerry Bruckheimer is leading the project, and
Jerry Bruckheimer.
I like Top Gun. He also did Days of Thunder, which is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think a Formula One film can ever come and top what Rush was.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the pinnacle.
Yeah. All I hope is that Brad Pitt makes a better F1 driver than Sacha Baron Cohen did in Talladega Nights.
Oh, are you kidding me? That was great. And it has to be better than Driven.
That's true. For those wondering what the silence is, Danny's daughter has walked into the room, and I am now really having to watch my language.
Go. Oh, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So we'll use that break to move on swiftly to Alfa Romeo, or back onto Alfa Romeo, just to compare their drivers from last season with the head-to-heads. Giovannazi had the 3 points compared to Raikkonen's 10. In the race, Raikkonen had 10 better results than Giovannazi compared to his 8. But Giovannazi out-qualified Raikkonen 13-7. The best result they had, though, Kimi Raikkonen 8th twice, and Giovannazi's best result was 9th. If you were to pick a positive from Giovannazi's season, what would it be? What would your one high point of his season be?
I feel for Giovannazi was his qualifying appearance. When he made Q3, was it in Saudi Arabia?
Qatar? Saudi or Qatar, one of the Middle Eastern races, yeah.
Yeah. That one. And then he finished that up in Saudi Arabia. He finished that up with a 9th place. So I feel like that was like his complete weekend of his year. Again, it was just very inconsistent. The car wasn't great. Yeah, he qualified 10th. He qualified. He was in Q3. He beat Ricardo for that. He beat his own teammate Alonso, and Mr. Saturday Russell on that Saturday. So that was his highlight for Giovannazi, but a little too late.
Yeah, I got to
Honestly,
agree. I think as the season went for Giovanazzi, that was the absolute high point. That and this time he didn't have the most embarrassing crash of the season. That's always he always seems to have one of those "what are you doing, Antonio" moments. But he seemed to really avoid those this season. I think.
Yeah.
He was just underwhelming rather than bad.
He had some good opening laps. He did have some really good opening laps.
Oh, he had some good opening laps. He's always been good in the opening lap, and that should serve him well in Formula E.
Oh, yeah.
As everyone around him crashes due to lack of talent.
Lack of talent and lack of space. That always bugs me about Formula E.
Yeah.
There's no space.
That's true. It is all street circuits. And yet they had a better race in Monaco than Formula One did, so let's not talk too much about that. Yikes. The absolute high point, what's your biggest positive for Kimi Räikkönen this season?
Boah. I was trying to do a boah. I don't know where to start.
Boah.
I don't know where to start this year. You know, Alfa Romeo didn't have a great season, and again, nothing much really from him. That was it. The 8th place in Russia he had this year. Was it 8th or 9th? Yeah, this year wasn't. There's just not too many highs.
Yeah.
His high was going on Drive to Survive and saying pretty much this is a hobby to him. That was his high.
Yeah. I think for Kimi that was probably it. He didn't really get. I think for Kimi, the positive is that he got through the season, and he didn't really do anything to tarnish the driver he was. No one's gone, "Oh, Kimi Räikkönen, no, he stayed around for one season too many," or whatever. I think this was the time for him to go. I think he timed that well. I think everyone would have been disappointed if he had left last season.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that Kimi's given us this one extra season, and I look forward to seeing him run for president wherever.
Yeah, right. I can be his spokesperson. If you go to our shop, you will see the Kimi for President sweater. We have
it. If you buy one, it'll make you very happy.
Yeah. Like, I could definitely see him. I could still see him in sport. No more racing, no more driving, but managing. Similar to like Mika did. After when he left, he was behind a lot of drivers. Kiki Rosberg, big example, also finished, who managed Mika's career. Then Mika did the same thing when Kimi was around and was able to get Kimi in that McLaren in 2002. I can see that happening. I know that it doesn't seem like a lot of talent is coming in from Finland, but I think there's going to be a turnover with Valtteri and Kimi kind of finishing their career. We might see another Finnish driver after that, most definitely.
Yeah. So moving on from the positives to the absolute low points, what was your low point of Giovanazzi's season?
I was getting ready to say Kimi, but no, this year Giovanazzi's low. I'm not to be so bad, but his whole season, he consistently had 12 places, 15th. He consistently had those places, either through bad strategy calls throughout the year, or his car not delivering what he wanted to. His worst result was in Russia, where he ended up in 16th. But his worst result outside of the retirement in Abu Dhabi was Russia. But yeah, just kind of like a season to forget and time for him to retire, or time to go to FE.
Yeah, I think for me, his low point had to be that tweet he sent out, and then everyone sort of had sympathy for him, and then his boss sort of publicly shamed him for it. when he said how when Formula One, when it becomes about money, it can be brutal. And he was publicly shamed for that by Vasseur, who pretty much said, if you were faster, we would have kept you.
Yeah, but he says that, and I guess to play it off. But could we really have seen Giovannazi in that Alfa Romeo next year?
Not really.
Not really. Yeah.
With Raikkonen, what was your low point for him?
What was his low point? I'm just looking at his races this year. He's pretty consistent at the beginning of the year. He did have a retirement in Portugal, 17th place in France, 18th place in Belgium, which was kind of a farce of a race. Somebody got 3 points there to help him out win something special, but we won't go there. Just 2 retirements really for him.
I think for me, Kimi's low point was that he didn't get to finish that last race. As much as he was ready to get out of there, I think it would have been nice if he got to finish that last race and do some donuts.
Yeah, it was. I know what was going. The celebrations were kind of missed upon. All over the place. We did get to see some good donuts at Abu Dhabi, but the focus was what would just happen at the end. But I didn't get to see any.
Yes. Whilst you may be missing your donuts, one thing you can be sure you won't be missing is 3D printed track wall art. And that is by heading to the website of show sponsor Apex Tracks. Yes, we always find a way to get this sponsorship in, and today is no different. We're very grateful for them, and that's why we encourage you, for all your 3D printed track wall art needs, to head to apextracks.com. That's APEXTRAXS.com. And now moving on to preview next season, we start with Valtteri Bottas. What are your expectations for Valtteri Bottas next season, Danny?
What he's going to be the same driver that he was, but in inferior. In less machinery. It's just going to be a quiet season from him. I see him working out this contract and kind of leaving the team after that. We might get a nice surprise with the regulation changes. He is a very talented driver. He can beat Hamilton on his day. He can match Hamilton well, and he did. His tenure at Mercedes. But hopefully he turns into the leader that he wants to become, and is able to pull Alfa Romeo out of the back marker, and at least to be a front of the middle running team. It's good to see that he's still in the grid, though. I'll say that. I'm glad that he's still on the grid, because he is very talented. He's a really good driver.
Yeah. I agree with that. He deserves to be on the grid, and I'm glad he still is. For me, my expectation for Bottas is he's got to have a Vettel-like season. I mean, it doesn't matter if he has a bit of a shaky start, but he needs to find his feet in the midfield and get his racecraft back. Because I think we all thought Vettel had lost his when leaving Ferrari. But we've all seen that with his most overtakes last season, that he's got his mojo back. And I think that's the expectation for Valtteri Bottas, is that he recovers any mojo he lost through being that solid number 2 driver and now having the chance to lead a team.
Yeah, but I see Bottas probably taking. He can probably take over like the David Coulthard kind of label, a second driver in McLaren, then went to Red Bull and led that team there, led a young team. If Alfa Romeo, they're able to invest in their team more, and now we're seeing the Formula One's becoming a little more affordable for these, if that's a good word to say, for these companies and these teams. It'd be nice to see another Red Bull kind of story with Alfa Romeo, and having Valtteri in there kind of take what he has learned from Mercedes, take the leadership that you learn, and implement that into that team.
And driver number 2 for Alfa Romeo next season is Guan Yu Zhou.
Oh, you said it really good. I could not say it.
Look at that. 3 for 3 on pronunciation. We are off to a fire with a flyer. Wow, pronunciation's gone right back down to rock bottom there. Guan Yu Zhou, is the second driver for Alpine next season. Guan Yu Zhou is the second driver for Alfa Romeo next season. I think he'll do well, but I think his challenge is going to be shaking off these people who go, why did you not give it to Piastri? Why didn't you bring in... Because, of course, they are both Alpine juniors, and Friedrich Vasseur had free choice of driver. I think Guan Yu Zhou's got to come on, or come into the sport, and he's got to be able to compete with the likes... Say the field levels out a bit. He's got to be able to compete with the likes of Latifi, of Mazepin, of Schumacher. He's got to be able to compete with those, and Tsunoda as well. He's got to be able to compete with the less experienced drivers in Formula One and show that he has a place where he belongs and that he's not just there to provide a payday to half the team.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He needs to he kind of has to ignore all that that talk of being a pay driver. You know, yeah, that's one of those necessary things we need in Formula One. I'll always defend a pay driver if they have some kind of talent. So yeah, we really can't get too worked out over that. But he needs to not let that get into his head. He needs to just take the lead. Valtteri could be a potentially really good teacher. You know, he can learn from him well, and you know, his job will be not to make mistakes in that car and just finish with solid results. Don't overdrive. And we saw with Tsunoda this year, he kind of overdrove a bit, and he's made a lot of mistakes. He bought into his hype, I guess, and Zhou needs to just drive his race and take it easy. He'll have good results. He's obviously talented.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of it's going to lean on the cars and these new regulations. So with the regulation change, what is the bare minimum that qualifies as success for Alfa Romeo next season?
They finished ninth this year, right? Yeah, they were a success for them should be finish with more points. The thing with Williams scored points in bunches this past season, and that helped them get ahead of Alfa. You know, Williams, Russell's podium in Belgium definitely helped him out, jump ahead of them. Because Alfa Romeo did have, you know, consistent results, but they were in the back of the pack. I think they need to make that push to fight consistently for the points, for the 10th spot, the 11th spot. And if they do that, that would be a successful year. But if they stay wallowing in the back and they're just qualifying ahead of Haas in every track and in every sort of track, you know, then that'll be a failure on their part. So score points, Alpha, please.
Points, even if it's low points, on a regular basis, really.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that they need to do for it to be classed as a successful year is the two drivers that have been brought in by Friedrich Vasseur. This is the first time in a long time he has had choice over what drivers he puts into his Formula One team.
Yeah.
He's not being forced to take a Ferrari Junior. He's not stuck having to keep certain drivers on board.
Yeah.
With this freedom of choice, his two drivers that he's picked, they need to justify that decision. They need to be the ones who silence any words of, oh, well, why isn't Piastri in this car, or why didn't you keep Giovannazi? They can't afford for those questions to be a thing. Of course, those questions will always come. That's the nature of Formula One. If you have one or two bad races, that will happen. But at the end of the season, those drivers need to have justified the selection that Vasseur has made.
Yeah, definitely. You hit that right. Yeah, because if you think about it, they've had Giovannazi, Raikkonen, but then they also had, before that, Marcus Ericsson was in that team. Leclerc, he was a Ferrari Junior.
Verline.
Yeah, Verline. So, yeah, this is a totally different team. They have a big name driver in Bottas, and they got the money with the Zhou. So this is, guys. We'll see what comes of it. They just got to score points. They just got to stay consistent in the 10th, 11th. Bottas needs to raise his close racing. He needs to close the door a little better. I don't care which one of those two scores points, but just get to 10th place at least. That'll get you points consistently. Will get you a good result.
Yeah, he needs to be feisty.
Yeah, definitely. Because that car is not going to qualify Q3 unless
we don't know. They could fall into the Red Bull category and go from a team that in 2008 was struggling for points, and 2009 was fighting for the title.
Yeah. Well, that was the story of Honda Braun.
Well, so there you go. The sky is Honda Braun, and the floor is your worse than Haas.
HRT.
So, HRT, yeah. Don't become HRT or
Virgin Racing.
Manor or
whatever they call it. HRT is
the bars. This could go either way next season for any team. I mean, there'll be teams you don't expect to fall off to the bottom of the pack, but there are teams who are at the bottom of the pack who could make a big leap.
Yeah.
If they get it right. So with that, I think we'll wrap up our review of Alfa Romeo / preview of Alfa Romeo. Until next time, if you've enjoyed hearing what you've heard, then head to the link in our bio of this podcast and connect with us on Discord, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and hopefully we'll hear from you soon. Until then, thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.